Look out, SEC, because the Big 12 is going to sweep y'all in week 2.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello there, Bears fans. Welcome to a bonus episode of Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and Rogue Media Network, where my teammate, Pete Sousa, will join me to look ahead at this week in the Big 12, because Pete is from inside the 12. He has done his research. He knows exactly what's going to happen this weekend. He's going to tell us why the Big 12 has a great chance to sweep the SEC this weekend, what Baylor is going to do to the ACC and those ponies up at SMU. Iowa State, Iowa, always good, but is Rich Rodriguez going to make a big statement this weekend? All that and more coming up on this bonus edition of Locked On Baylor. Pete, after the Baylor-Auburn game last weekend, were you just like drinking all the Kool-Aid of maybe the SEC is right all the time and that the Big 12 can't beat them?
Well, I thought that before, to be honest. I've always been terrified of the SEC just because of they got big boys in the trenches, and they got the biggest boys in the trenches outside of the Big Ten, and so I think that makes a huge impact in a game against a team like Baylor, and we saw that. I don't think that it's like, oh, the Big 12 can't compete with the SEC, but like there's an expectation that I have when you take on an SEC team that's going to be a problem, and it was and way bigger of a problem than I thought too. That was rough.
It was, and I'm done rehashing it, but it was rough. It was brutal. It was exactly what all the SEC people thought it was going to be. So
Jackie Marshall right now has a nosebleed, and Dave Aranda cannot figure out how to stop it. Like, that's happening.
This guy. That's why we bring him on. Not only is he inside the 12.
All right.
But he gets us. So looking ahead at this weekend, we got 2 more Big 12 SEC matchups. We've obviously got the border war, Kansas and Mizzou. Are we still allowed to call that? I'll double check on my PC people on that. Arizona State takes on Mississippi State. That's a mismatch. One pick to win the Big 12, one pick to finish last in the SEC. So, Pete, how do you see these games shaking out? Is this the opportunity for the Big 12 to get back at the SEC already?
Yeah, 100%. I talked to Brett Yormark. First conversation we had on the first episode of Inside the 12. What's it going to take to get multiple teams from the Big 12 into the college football playoff? Got to win the marquee non-conference matchups. You've got another slate this weekend. The Big 12 plays, I think, 6 games against Power 4 opponents, and they're favored in like 4 of the 6. So the table is set for the Big 12 to take care of business and kind of get things back to a level playing field where you can start to talk some trash and stuff as the year kicks off and as we get into the conference schedule.
How about Jalen Daniels? There's been a mix of the hype there. You know, some people have Kansas in the mix. Some people are like, I'm not buying it. This is offensive coordinator number 3 in 3 years for Jalen Daniels. Here they have a big opportunity. No one's picking Missouri to win the SEC, but that's been a good program under Drinkwitz the last couple of years. There can certainly be a bowl team in the toughest conference in college football. Is this a marquee moment, not just for the Big 12, but for Jalen Daniels?
I think so, yeah. And I think we saw the type of player he's going to be this year in that opener against Fresno State in week 0. Look, man, I love Jeff Grimes. Great dude. I got a chance to meet with him several times calling Baylor games for ESPN. He did not see eye to eye with Jalen Daniels. I'm not breaking any news there. There was a lot of friction there. The more and more I learn about it, just from talking to people doing Inside the 12. So this is like a real fresh start for him. And I think we saw him being reinvigorated in that first game. And I think this could take him leaps and bounds forward this year, as opposed to some of the hardships we saw last year. I like, this is the hot pick going into the weekend. Kansas getting 6.5 at Mizzou in a game that, like, throw the records out. You know what I mean? So it's one of those deals where I do like Kansas right now. I don't want to say I don't like Kansas because other people do. I liked them before I heard people say that they liked them, and I'm sticking to it.
Give our old pal Blake Shapen any shot against Arizona State?
No, I don't. I mean,
yeah.
You know, Again, that line is sort of deceiving too. I hate to stick to the odds makers, but I mean that I think it's like 6.5 points or 7 points, which is a little low. And it is like, remember Arizona State went to play Texas State last year, and they almost lost that game on a Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when they were kind of finding that, mystique that they used last year to propel themselves into the championship game and the conference or the college football playoff. But my favorite part about this game is Kenny Dillingham saying that he had to find a hotel like an hour outside of Starkville because they didn't want to stay in a casino, which is great. And I
mostly says that's a guy that can't work at Baylor because of lines like that. And that's a shame for Baylor. That's a shame because that's good, man.
And it's really good. But yeah, I like Arizona State to win that game. It's one of those things. This is cliche, but that's a dangerous game. It's just a dangerous game. You're going to have to go in there, take care of business, and get the hell out.
And look, Mississippi State, I think for probably most of the offseason is looking at that like Big 12. That's not right. And they were a good college football playoff team last year, Arizona State, but they're thinking, you know what, this is a good chance to get one over before we get into the conference schedule. And I'm sure that's how Iowa looks at Iowa State most years. We talk about the SEC, but the Big Ten is the other one Brett Yormark was talking about. Got to beat the Big Ten as well. Iowa State struggles with Iowa, no matter how good they are. It is truly one of those throw out the record games. They got a big win in week 0. I know you're a big Rocco Becht guy. So were we kind of putting Rocco Becht on the back burner by talking about some of the other quarterbacks like Levitt, like Robertson, like Hoover in the build up to this season? And can he kind of shut a lot of us up this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's quieted some folks, like even over the past 2 weeks. I think the way that he played against Kansas State, making winning plays and winning moments, right? Mm-hmm. And then last week, just taking care of business. But he does seem to play better. Their offensive coordinator was talking about it yesterday. He seems to play better with his back against the wall. Like the guy is nails. And this is a kind of game that's kind of tailor-made for him and that opportunity, right? Because or at least it feels like it's going to be close. They won by a field goal last year, Iowa State did. And Iowa State, I got to give them a lot of credit, like whether it's coaching or how they traveled. That 5,000-mile hangover coming back from Dublin really seemed to have cleaned Kansas State's clock, right? Almost the season. Iowa State handled business last week, on to this week. So if that's an indication into their mentality this year, that's a nice indication, right? Iowa State seems to be all about business once again. And I think Rocco Becht is like the best guy to lead this team. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how they do that game and to see how they do all season long.
It feels like I'm eating my words a little bit. That's maybe not the right thing to say. I never doubted Rocco Becht, but I looked at these other guys, including Avery Johnson, and just said the ceiling's higher. And that's why I'm rolling with these guys. Yeah.
It still is.
But Rocco Becht wins, man.
He does, and he does he's got like all those weird intangibles, dude. He loves the lonely work. He works his ass off. I always believe that players that had parents that played in the league they have a step or two ahead of the opposition. They've been there, they've seen it. There's something about that really, I think, prepares you to be successful.
Which makes you wonder how bad Bronny James really is if he's got a step ahead. Hey, let's talk some Baylor. Let's talk about the Big 12 team with the most to prove this weekend. Let's do it next on this bonus edition of Locked On Baylor. But first, how about a word from our sponsor over at Upside? Are you still paying full price for gas? Can you get that sentence out? I'm trying, okay? Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code FOOTBALL and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people getting real payments just to make their daily commutes. And you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, or Amazon and other brands. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL, which you can remember because the World Cup's next year. For a limited time, 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code football. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Mazda. Yes, one of the newest sponsors as well. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. Because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible. They remind us to go that extra yard, shift into that extra gear, and keep moving the game forward. And of course, I'm talking about Avery Johnson's game-winning drive against the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota to even up Kansas State at 1-1. Look, that's not a great situation to be in, to have to do a 2-minute drive against an FCS school. And most of the time, that's going to get in your head. And when the fans are booing you off the field at halftime, it's certainly not going to help. But Avery Johnson did that. He went down the field. He scored a touchdown, and I'll give credit where it's due. They're 1-1, and they needed to be. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Back here on this bonus edition, Locked On Baylor. Big 12 look ahead for the weekend with Pete Sousa of Inside the 12. And of course, we'll get you started on 11 at 11 a.m. on Saturday on the CW, baby. I'll have my One Tree Hill.
By the way, this is an extra episode.
It's an extra episode, Pete.
How much of this do people need?
Look, Pete, you are so inside the 12. You should know this. We need all of this. I talk about Baylor all week. And then we need a little bit of Big 12 flavor to get us into the weekend. But
I'm here for it. I'm here all. I just finished.
Thank
up.
you. Thank
I
you.
did it, but I'm here for it all the time. I did a UCF pod before you, so get jealous.
Wow, I will.
I got UCF and North Carolina A&T this weekend at the Bounce House. You don't want to talk about that game, do you?
You know what? It's not on the rundown. It's not. It didn't make the rundown this time. Yeah. And if we're sitting here talking about it next week, that would be a heck of a bad thing for UCF. But Pete, we do need to talk Baylor. We talked out of conference, a little Big 12 SEC, a little Big 12, Big 10. Now we've got Big 12 ACC. Who would have thunk it? Baylor and SMU a couple of years ago as Big 12 ACC matchup. You lose to Auburn week 1. You definitely don't want to fall down 0-2. And on paper, you might be facing a better team in week 2. Now, I'm not seeing it that way just because of the talent that Auburn put on display on Saturday. I think they are a better, more talented team than SMU is. What is your beat on this game? It's been pretty divisive.
Well, I just to backtrack real quick, I thought Auburn, even during that game, I was like, why do I keep looking at this team as like a 4 or 5 win team from last year? It's a brand new season, and it's Auburn.
Because they were a 5-win team. But
but that was last year, and the turnover is so massive nowadays.
I'll take the heavy load off your shoulders, Pete. Don't kill yourself here, okay? They didn't play. They hadn't played yet. Yeah.
Well, but it's a brand new season, and I think we saw that. So I think that's a pretty good team, and that can end up being like a good loss at the end of the year, quite possibly for Baylor.
Could be.
So on the Pete Sousa show this morning on the Rogue Media Network, I was lucky enough to have Craig James from the Pony Express on the show. He made a great point, Cam. He said, I was asking him to handicap Baylor and SMU, right? And he said Mike Singletary used to hyperventilate in the huddle. And he said that literally him and his teammates one time in a huddle on offense, Singletary had to leave the game because he was hyperventilating so much. Oh my gosh. James said, literally, he's in the huddle with Eric Dickerson, and they're like, dude, he just went out. They're like, thank God he's not in the game anymore. He said it was really it was that scary. But it's gonna be frightening, yeah. Yeah, he also said Baylor and Auburn, that game gives Baylor a slight edge coming into this SMU game, simply because Dave Aranda, he knows what he's got to do this week. He actually has a pretty good idea of the kind of team he has right now. Like it or not, he knows his team better than Rhett Lashley and SMU, who had a ho-hum win against a much lesser opponent last weekend. So it does set up for Baylor to have an advantage just kind of as far as identity goes heading into this game. And I Scotty Swingler at the Rogue Media Network, who's forgotten more about Baylor football than I'll ever know, at least I'll say that. He says this is a must-win for Baylor.
Feels like it, yeah.
Do you think that too?
It definitely feels
because,
like
by
it.
the way,
and maybe
I got news. It's not.
Because maybe this is just me getting used to this new era of college football still, of like, I mean, realistically, if they do go 0-2 and they win 9 of their remaining 10 and, are in the Big 12 championship game, then they're absolutely in the playoff discussion still. You need to win the Big 12. You need to be 10-3, but that can get you in. And the Big 12 this year, that means a couple of ranked wins. You've got Kansas State on the schedule, you've got Iowa State and Utah on the schedule. Potentially TCU is a ranked team as well. So that means you're going to get some ranked wins. But it definitely does feel like it though, Pete, because I've been watched Baylor so much. Like to win 9 or 10 in a row after that is just against pretty much everything Baylor's done in their history. So that's why it feels like it. But I understand what you mean by it's kind of not in this new era, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
You need, it's a game you really want to have. Look, dude, I remember in February or March when that schedule came out, and I thought there's a chance Baylor goes 1-3. I mean, and it's not crazy.
And then now it's just looking us in the face, though.
Well, yeah,
because we were all probably like, 1-3. It's not the worst case scenario, or it's pretty bad, right? Yeah. I guess it is the worst case. You weren't going to lose to Samford. But 2-2, you'll be okay. And now if I sit here and tell you you're going to lose this weekend, you're like, the sky's falling. But then I'm like, you could still be 2-2.
Yeah.
It's just when it stares you in the face.
And this is a very winnable game for Baylor. Very, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But, SMU has the advantage. They're a 3-point favorite, I think. But I think in the trenches, we'll see a huge difference this weekend. As far as winning the line of scrimmage, I think Baylor will look much better. And I do appreciate what Sawyer Robertson said after last week's game. That is probably the best defense we're going to see all year.
That's what I come back to. And I'll say it again on Friday's show when I tell you why Baylor's going to win, because I do think Baylor's going to win. But that Auburn defense is better than SMU's defense.
Yeah.
And I'm inclined to believe that Auburn's trenches are better than SMU's trenches. Still doesn't mean that Baylor was good enough by any means. But that's why I think Baylor's going to win. But
are people still calling you Cam Stuart?
There's some of that.
That is awesome, dude.
It's great. It's humbling in a good way. I like it a lot. I like little Cam Stuart. The Auburn fans are great. I'm going to miss them. But looking at the last one I want to highlight for this weekend, the team with something to prove. And this is a weird one, Pete, because this is a team that you know pretty well from your time at Inside the 12 and people that I think you like this team.
I do.
I look at West Virginia.
Yeah.
Going to Athens. Okay. I'm telling you, they're going to Athens. They're going to a state where they win state or national championships. And you're like, oh God, they're going between the hedges. No. They're going to Athens, Ohio to face the Ohio Bobcats. And they're 3-point favorites. I'm a little surprised by that. Okay. West Virginia did not have a lot of pub going into this season. There's not a lot of hype around them. And here's an Ohio team that won the MAC last year, that won 11 games last year, and they can play you tough. They beat Iowa State 2 years ago up in Athens. Why is
up in
West
Ames
Virginia
or up in Athens?
Huh?
Up in Ames or up
in Athens? In Athens. It's weird that both these teams have to play them on the road. Why is West Virginia a 3-point favorite?
Well, because there's a movement in West Virginia, and it's picking up steam rather quickly. And I think like Rich Rod's second tour of duty won't be quite as prolific as his first, but I do believe like that team, and this is the odds makers. This isn't a bunch of wacky coaches or like sports writers. Like those odds are there for a reason, and they're very close every week for a reason. West Virginia deserves to be favored in this game. And because they're a better team top to bottom, and because those 11 wins you're talking about last year, not only were they last year, but they were in the MAC. Hello. Like
we got MAC players playing in the Big 12 every year.
A couple of them. They don't make out teams. And there's one other, I got one thing that's very important here.
Parker Navarro's good, man. I'm saying, I'm going to be pulling for West Virginia, but they could stub their toes here. I don't think it's that crazy.
They absolutely could. They absolutely could. But you got me talking about West Virginia now, so I got to wax poetic for the next 20 seconds. I think that program is really like trending upward big time. And hiring like Rich Rodriguez, and then like there's that like Pat McAfee crossover connection. There's like something happening there that like I've noticed. Like I'm like, even last year when McAfee, wasn't really connected to the program through a guy like Rich Rod. He still had his show there before they got annihilated by Penn State. And like, I remember that better than I do the game. And I think like they're putting West Virginia out there again.
Yeah. So Mountaineer Paul thinks if they win this game that the backyard brawl next week will be College game day because McAfee's going to put the press on.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking
about. And honestly, like, good for them.
Yeah.
All right. Like I'm not a fan of any other Big 12 team but Baylor, but like I've said it before on the show a bunch. I do have a soft spot for West Virginia. Like they're counted out all the time as a state, as a people, as a culture. Yeah. I'm in on West Virginia. They're great fans. They really are. And I still wonder a dozen years into the Big 12 experience that like, is this just too big a step for them? Like they've had some talented teams in their time in the Big 12. They have not played in the conference championship game since that's been back. They've been close a game or two from a Big 12 title once or twice. The last time was almost 10 years ago. Like I want West Virginia to prove that this is not.
If this was like soccer, we would like demote them,
relegate them. Yeah, I'm just wondering if this is just a league they can't win in.
No.
There are teams in the SEC and the Big 10 that are like that.
But they're not like West. You can't compare West Virginia in the Big 12 to like Mississippi State in the SEC. I don't think you can. I think West Virginia every year, like they feel like they have a dog in the fight. I really believe that. And we're talking about like a hotbed for college football. Like that Western Pennsylvania pipeline that feeds into West Virginia, like, and they go into Philly, right? They go into New York City. Like they get a bunch of athletes from that area of the country. They're not hard pressed for talent. Like that'll come together at some point. They certainly don't need to be relegated, Cam. What conference would you put them in?
I mean, like that's the thing, that probably the American, because that's what the Big East would have been, right? And that's where they really thrived there. I wonder the same thing about Cincinnati. And
Cincinnati, I would say more than West Virginia.
Yeah,
but you never get that.
So too, but we also got to give Cincinnati and UCF some time. That's the other thing.
100%.
This is 13 years of West Virginia being here.
Okay, good point. Good point. You know, and you look at those two situations.
Maybe we should relegate Tech. I don't know.
That's Cincinnati and that's Orlando. So like those markets, like they'll always, like that's big for the Big 12.
They'll want to be there. Yeah.
And now Dave Portnoy is a partner of the Big 12s. So
how about that? Is he going to be on Inside? Dude,
I would love that. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like Brett Yormark's a genius, dude.
Dave Portnoy wrote a blog about me once. You should bring that up if he's Inside the 12. Yeah. I'll let the people find that. It's not for me. It's actually probably not even on the internet anymore. It's almost 12 years ago.
I had a great run-in with the commissioner. I bumped into him outside the bathroom at the Houston game. It was perfect. I was all dressed up, and he was like, I was like, Commissioner Pete Sousa. He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I love what you guys are doing on Inside the 12. It's great. I'm like, really? You think so? He's like, yeah, I really think it's lights out. And I said, Commissioner, I was in the NBA working for the Hornets in PR when you were with the Nets. I go, off the top of my head, I said, you took the Nets from Jersey to Brooklyn, and you're doing the same with the Big 12. I was like, we love it. And he almost blushed. And then I just got to go on my way because I was going to the bathroom. I was like George Costanza. It was the greatest. I had to share that with you. I know you appreciate that.
It is the official in-flight show of Air Force One. If Brett Yormark was on the plane, tell people how they can follow along with another season of Inside the 12, because this thing is going to the moon here.
Well, it's going to HBO Max. You can find it there. You can find it on True TV.
Come on, turn me up.
Big 12 markets all over the country, and of course the Big 12's YouTube page. Check it out there. It's actually this year I'm doing it with Taylor McCarg, and we basically, to give you a little inside baseball, you'll appreciate this. We threw the scripts out. We have talking points, no teleprompter. We're talking football. and it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. He's a quarterback. We break down quarterbacks all week. It's fun.
You rush the quarterback, so there's
there you go.
Both sides of the ball there. Pete, thanks so much for joining. I hope we can make this a regular thing previewing the Big 12 weekend.
Yeah, we can. I mean, you just let me know, Cam. I'm always here for you.
Oh, well, now the audience knows you're available, so now that has to hold me to it. Anyway, guys, get your comments in below. Who is going to win this weekend? Is the Big 12 going to make a statement to the Big 10,
Cam Stuart,
to the SEC? Let Cam Stuart know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel as we are on the path towards 5,000 subscribers. And we will have our Locked On crossover edition with SMU on Thursday, and we'll give you the final preview of that game on Friday. So we'll see you then on your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.